may have seen already, her bio is listed in the program, but I just wanted to highlight a few points about this remarkable young lady. One of the national catchphrases for TRIO is TRIO works. Our speaker knows this firsthand, as she is a former TRIO participant herself. She has followed her passion and has accomplished goals to include recently graduating from Norfolk State University with a master's degree in public health. This is just the beginning for her as she plans to continue to use her resources to inspire students by building support systems that help them stay on track to graduate and accomplish their post-secondary and career goals, just as she has done. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome home our Hampton native, Ms. Janaea Belcher.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank the TRIO Educational Talent Search Program and Hampton University for inviting me here tonight. It is truly an honor to celebrate with you all and your families. Now, before I get started, I need everyone to do something for me. Raise your hand if you've ever pretended to understand something when you absolutely did not. Be honest, y'all. Maybe you was in class. Maybe your teacher asked, does everyone understand? And you nodded your head even though you were completely lost. Maybe someone was giving directions and you said, yeah, I got it, knowing good and well you did not. Y'all are my people. Because if I'm being honest, I spent a lot of my first year of college pretending I knew what I was doing. My name is Janaea Belcher. I'm from Hampton, Virginia, a 2020 graduate of Bethel High School. Some of you have walked the same hallways I walked. Some of you may live in neighborhoods that I once drove through on my way to school every day. And that's why this moment is so special to me. I was once a student in this program. I sat in rooms like this. I listened to speakers like this. And if someone had told me that one day I would graduate from Xavier University, Louisiana, with a bachelor's degree in biology and earn a master of public health from the Norfolk State University, and come back home to speak to students, I probably would have laughed. Not because I didn't have goals, but because I had absolutely no idea how much growing, struggling, failing, learning, and perseverance it would take to get here. One thing I want you all to understand tonight is that success is rarely a straight line. When people look at someone's accomplishments, they usually only see the highlights. They see the graduation pictures on Instagram, the awards, the degrees. They see the success, but they don't always see what happened behind the scenes. They don't see the moments where you doubted yourself. They don't see the setbacks. They don't see the tears. They don't see the times you wanted to quit. They don't see the work. When I graduated from high school, I left Hampton and moved over 1,000 miles away to attend college in New Orleans. Now let me tell y'all something. Moving 1,000 miles away really sounds exciting when you're telling people about it. It sounds adventurous, it sounds independent, it sounds grown, and then you actually get there. And suddenly your mom can't bring you your Chromebook when you left it at home. Your family isn't around the corner. I remember calling my mom because I was overwhelmed, and my mom could encourage me over the phone, but she couldn't teleport to New Orleans. She couldn't drive across town, she couldn't stop by my dorm, she couldn't come bring me food, she couldn't come fix any situation I had. For the first time in my life, I had to learn how to solve problems by myself without my support system down the street. And it was hard. And in my case, I started school during COVID. I arrived on campus in fall 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. This was the 6 feet apart era, COVID testing every few weeks, and masking everywhere. A lot of the things people normally look forward to when they're attending college looked completely different. Building friendships were harder, meeting people was harder, and getting connected on campus was harder. Honestly, I felt isolated. I remember looking around and thinking everyone else had college figured out. Everyone seemed confident, everyone seemed smart, everyone seemed like they knew exactly what they were doing. Meanwhile, I was trying to adjust to college, being away from home, and a global pandemic all at the same time. My first semester of college, I earned a 2.7 GPA. Now, some of y'all heard that and thought, that's not that bad. At the time, Xavier's standard to maintain your scholarship was a 3.3 GPA yearly. Some of y'all might have seen that number and thought, girl, what were you doing? I was having a great time, I will say that. I had spent years telling people I wanted to be a doctor, and it wasn't just a career goal for me. It was a part of how I saw myself. So when my grades weren't reflective of who I was, I felt like my dream was slipping away before it even began. I was embarrassed. I'd always been a good student. I've always worked hard, and I didn't really want to tell anybody about this situation. I didn't want people to think I wasn't smart. I didn't want people to think I didn't belong at Xavier. And instead of asking for help, I tried to hide the fact that I was struggling, and that made everything worse. Suddenly, I was questioning whether I belonged there. I started comparing myself to everyone else, and comparison will steal your joy every single time. Because what I didn't know was that many of the people I was comparing myself to were struggling as well. They just weren't posting it. They just weren't talking about it. They just weren't advertising it. And eventually, I learned one of the biggest lessons of my life. Everybody was confused, and some people were just confused confidently. If we're being honest, some adults are still confused confidently. That realization changed everything for me, because I finally stopped believing that I was the only person struggling. But I still had another problem. I was terrified to ask for help. I thought asking for help meant I wasn't smart. I thought asking questions in class would make me look dumb. I thought successful students figured out everything on their own. And that mindset held me back for a long time. Then one day, I realized something. The students who were succeeding weren't necessarily smarter than me. They were just using the resources around them. They were going to office hours. They were asking questions. They were joining study groups. They were meeting with their advisors. They were using tutoring services. They were building relationships with their professors. Meanwhile, I was sitting there trying to do everything by myself. And let me tell you something I wish someone had told me then. There is no award for struggling in science. None. Nobody hands you a trophy for making life harder than what it needs to be. Success is not about doing everything by yourself. Success is about knowing when to ask for help. So, I started changing. I joined study groups. I started reaching out. I started building relationships. I started using campus resources. And something else happened when I stopped isolating myself. I got involved. Some of my best memories from college didn't happen in a classroom. They happened through student organizations, campus events, leadership programs, and friendships that started with me simply showing up. I became involved in student government, peer mentoring programs, and several campus organizations. I even worked as a campus brand ambassador, which gave me opportunities to connect with students all across the country. And if I'm being honest, I almost missed out on all of that. Because when you're struggling, it's easy to convince yourself to stay in your room. It's easy to tell yourself you'll get involved next semester. Let me save you some time. Nobody has everything together. Not freshmen, not seniors, not graduate students, not your professors, and definitely not me. College became so much more enjoyable when I stopped trying to do it alone. The community I built helped me through some of the hardest moments of my college journey and celebrated some of the best ones with me. And little by little, things began to improve. Not overnight, not in 1 week, not because I suddenly became an ingenious, because I stopped trying to carry everything by myself. Freshman year, I was also diagnosed with ADHD. And honestly, that explained a lot. It helped me understand why certain things were harder for me. It also taught me another important lesson. Everybody has challenges. Some are visible, and some are invisible. But having challenges does not mean you're incapable of success. You can struggle and still succeed. You can have help and still succeed. You can have setbacks and still succeed. You can fail an exam and still succeed. You can fail and have a bad semester and then still succeed. Your future is not determined by one moment. And I'm standing here tonight as proof of that. So, I kept going. The student who earned a 2.7 GPA her first semester graduated from college. The student who was afraid to ask questions earned a master's degree with a 3.93 GPA. The student who doubted whether she belonged became graduate student of the year. The student who struggled to find her place now gets invited to speak to people all across the country. And the student who once questioned whether she belonged is standing here tonight telling you that you do. Not because I was the smartest person in the room, because everything went perfectly, or because I kept showing up. I kept learning, I kept asking for help, and I refused to let one difficult season define my future. So, tonight, as you prepare for your next chapter, I want to leave you with 3 things. First, ask for help. Not late, ask early. Not after you're failing. Not after you convince yourself that you'll withdraw from the class. Ask for help early. Second, build your community. Find your people. Join organizations and clubs. Find the classmates, mentors, professors, advisors, and friends who will encourage you and help you grow. Success is rarely a solo journey. And third, do not quit on yourself. A bad grade is not the end. A setback is not the end. A difficult semester is not the end. Keep going. Because the students who succeed are not always the students who never struggled. They're the students who keep showing up. Before I leave tonight, I want every person in this room to remember something. You belong in those classrooms. You belong on those college campuses. You belong in those careers. You belong in those leadership positions, and you deserve your seat at the table. For a long time, I thought confidence meant never failing. What I've learned is that confidence means believing you'll be okay, even if you did. Do not let fear convince you otherwise. Years from now, you'll be standing here sharing your own story with the next generation of students. And when that day comes, I hope you remember that you've always been capable of more than you've realized. Congratulations to each of you. I am proud of you. Your families are proud of you. The TRIO Educational Talent Search Program is proud of you. And I cannot wait to see what you accomplish next. Thank you all so much.